Hello everyone and welcome to SkillCapped. I'm Notorious Dub and today I'm going to be tackling one of my most asked questions. How do you play attacker side in Valorant? This is a very common problem because sometimes it's just not clear what you should be doing. Should you group as 5? Should you rush a site? Should you split up and attack different angles? Well, I'm going to be answering all of those questions and more for you right now. So hit that subscribe button and enjoy the video. Alright, so first things first, we have to go over some basic rules before we look at the attacking strategies that the pros use. Number 1 is stop rushing. If the enemy team has a cypher, a sage, and or a breach, and you're not sure if they're going to be on the site that you're about to rush, just stop, slow down, and gather information first. There's nothing worse than getting sage walled off during your rush and seeing a raise grenade go flying over the top of it at you. That's what nightmares are made of. And so is walking into a cypher trap only to have you and your entire team sprayed down with no idea where you're getting shot from. Sage, Cypher, and Breach are the 3 characters that are considered area deniers. So pushing a site against these agents requires you to be sure that they aren't on site, or taking the push carefully enough to bait out the utility without dying, that way you can then rush the site. Number 2, make sure to clear the site. The most devastating thing I see in my games is to take a bomb site and then go for the plant, and you get killed as soon as you tap the bomb because someone was hiding in sight where no one checked. This is the easiest way to lose rounds, and with Valorant's unique map design, there are tons of corners everywhere you look, making it a paradise for someone who's hiding in a pocket on site. Now with that being said, if everyone takes a second and clear all of the angles and make sure that there aren't any enemies hiding on site, including the person planting the bomb, I promise you're going to be winning more of those rush rounds because you're going to be picking up that free kill and you're going to know that you're safe to set up for the hole. Number 3 is to stop smoking off your own path. This is the most important one because I see so many people wanting to use all 3 of their brimstone smokes to create this big wall across the bomb site, that way they don't have to engage anyone on the way to the site. While this can be decent for getting a plant somewhat safely, it almost guarantees you lose the round afterwards because you've taken no control over the site and the enemies are just waiting on that smoke to drop to mow you down. Instead, you should use your utility to get rid of critical points on the map, like Heaven on Split. Heaven on Split is a very difficult area to deal with when you're rushing a site, so smoking it off allows you to get control over everything else before you actually take that fight. It gives you a much better opportunity to win that fight and control the bomb site because you don't have to worry about much else. With all of this being said though, I think the best way to learn is to actually take a look at what the pros are doing and see what we can learn from that. So let's dive into these rounds of pros playing their favorite strategies on attackers' side. First off, we have a round from Hiko on Split. Hiko is one of the best tactical players in the game, and he had some awesome games with Ninja and his friends a couple of days ago. Whenever you watch Hiko play Split, you're going to notice that he's doing one of 2 things. For one, his team rushes A with their utility to cut off the problem angles. This is Hiko's go-to strat for pistol rounds, or when he just wants to pick up the pace to pressure out his opponents. The most important thing for you to do when you're rushing A site is to take care of ramps, which is where Hiko fissured as soon as the round started, and to take care of Heaven, which was smoked off by Brimstone. If you can take care of both of these angles, then you can pretty much take the entire bomb site for free as long as you hit a few of your shots. Another vital thing to realize from this round is that Hiko is immediately setting up for the hold against the retake. Hiko tells his sage to take screens with him, and once he gets set up in a power position like screens, the retake becomes almost impossible for the opponents. So the important takeaways for rushing A is to take away the enemy's power angles, like ramps in Heaven, get on site quickly, and then to take control of those power angles to stop the retake. Because as we can see, the enemies are pushing into bad trades because they have no freeway on the site, because without a control of their critical angle like screens, they can't pressure the site and they just have to rush into Hiko's utility and die for free. Now the other and most common strat we see from Hiko is his team playing around mid control to take over a bomb site through Heaven A or Heaven B. Now mid control is extremely important on a map like Split, as exactly like the name implies, getting control of mid splits the defenders in half. This will give you a multi-pronged attack on either the A site or the B site, forcing the defenders to cover multiple different angles at once, making the difference extremely difficult for them. And this concept of a multi-pronged attack doesn't mean you have to do a 3-2 split. Notice how it's only Hiko pressuring Garage in this scenario. This is perfectly fine. Now 4 of his teammates can take over mid and hit B through Heaven. Meanwhile, Hiko is pulling Cypher's attention, making it impossible for him to defend the site since he has a watch for both the Heaven push and the B main push. It's also worth noting that it isn't a coincidence that Hiko was sent to take control of B main as he's playing Raze. Raze is one of the best counters to Cypher since her abilities do AoE damage and actually destroy Cypher's tripwires. Even her boom bot can activate them if it runs into them. Sova can accomplish something similar with his shock dart's AoE damage, but Raze just has a bit more of that. Throughout the round, he's putting pressure on B main, destroying Cypher's traps, and forcing his utility and attention on him in Garage and taking it away from him defending Heaven. Now once his team gets control of mid, they execute the push on B through Heaven, and Cypher was being attacked from multiple angles. He has nowhere safe to play and is easily killed. Now from here, all Hiko has to do is watch the most important angles and wait out that bomb timer. Alright, next we have TenZ. TenZ was the first player to reach the Valorant rank in North America. He has a very methodical and calculated playstyle, and in this round we're going to see just how he brings that playstyle into bind. Now when TenZ is attacking on bind, you're going to notice his team will usually go for a 3-2 split. This means they're attacking one bomb site from both of its angles. Or they will do a 2-2-1 split, which means they're attacking the bomb site from both of its angles, and they have one person playing lurk. And since TenZ is transitioning into the sniper for his team, he's going to be the one lurking. Now in this round, however, we see the 3-2 split come in around bomb site A. And this round is a prime example of baiting out utility. We see the brimstone smokes come in. Now notice how Sage in this moment is watching the flank. One of the most common mistakes players make when they're baiting out utility is they don't have anybody watching that flank. Now since you're playing so slow, this gives the enemy time to push the other bomb site and look for those flanks on you. This is why it's so important to have one teammate watching that flank, because if there's not, that person can easily push up and get a multi-kill on you. Then we see the smoke expire. So TenZ decides to push up a bit, and what do you know, more utility is used by the enemy. In this moment, a lot of players would be wondering what they're supposed to do. Well, in order to know what the best decision is to make, we first need to check our teammates on the minimap. Notice how TenZ's teammates are pushed up so far into showers. In fact, they're actually peeking onto the site at this moment. So instead of backing off when the Sage Wall comes out, they shoot through it to try and provide some support for their team, as this will both help distract the enemy from looking at showers while his teammates are peeking, and simultaneously giving TenZ the option to push out once that wall breaks. Now, Raze got to pick on one of the enemies in sight, and with the wall destroyed, it's looking like they're going to push the site. However, Brimstone Molly then comes down to delay them even further. So a couple of things are going on here. First, they baited a ton of utility from the enemy. Second, they actually got a pick on the enemy Sage. And third, they have spent around 30 seconds trying to work a site. Here's the thing, whenever you spend this much time baiting out utility on a site, there's a very high chance that either the enemy pushed out of the other side to flank you, or one of them preemptively rotated to help defend from that potential push that you're setting up. This is why it can be extremely effective to simply then rotate to the other side, as often there's only one enemy left playing there. And what do you know, as they rotate, they catch an enemy looking for that flank. So it's time to run as fast as they can to the B site. Keep in mind that even if the enemy rotates to the B site, they won't have any utility left to help hold that fast push since they used it all to defend A site earlier. And it's here we see one of the key parts of taking B site on bind, using a Sage Wall to block the enemy's rotation from CT spawn. Now with the spike planted, the defenders are playing against the clock, and the Sage Wall makes it extraordinarily difficult for them to push in fast enough to actually make a difference. Keep in mind, if the enemy destroys the wall, then Sage can just throw in a slow orb, further delaying their ability to retake the site. Now once the Sage Wall comes in to stop the rotation, the round is essentially over. They just play the waiting game until TenZ picks up the kill and mark it, and they know the enemy has no chance of actually winning. Next up we have NRG Aceu. He was easily one of the best players on Pro Apex Legends, and after swapping to Valorant, he's making the same name for himself in this scene as well. In this clip, we see how pros attack on the map Haven. We see it start off with a very simple but potent strategy by Aceu. He notices the enemy breach is broke and can't afford a gun. Their breach have been playing C site, so Aceu makes the call to his team that he's going to be looking for a pick on C long, since he knows they'll have gun advantage on breach. This prompts his team to set up for a 3-2 split on C site, with them pushing both garage and C long. When in doubt, you should check the scoreboard and attack the site where the enemies that can't afford guns are playing. Now we can see how this gave Ace a free pick opportunity on the enemy breach while having a very low risk due to the gun difference. Ace continues to look for pressure on C site, and it's here we see a strong tactic to use on the attacking team with Phoenix. He activates his Phoenix ult, but most importantly, is that he calls to his teammates to look for a trade-off of his ult. This allows his Jet to get a pick with the AWP using his Phoenix ult as bait. Shortly after, him and one of his teammates end up trading kills with Raze. Ace's Sage walls off C long and revives him, and at this point they make the call to rotate off C. This is because there are only 2 enemies remaining, and we know from earlier that Breach is definitely on C site. Now remember, when you take a long time to attack a site, you increase the chances that the defenders will have rotated from other sites to help defend there. So it's highly likely that the Sage has rotated by now to help defend C site with Breach. And just like in the previous clip, you're seeing the importance of rotating your attack onto another site. As they rotate, he stays C and breaks down his own Sage wall. This forced the enemy team to stay on C just in case they faked rotated out, giving Aceu and his team the site completely free to get set up how they want to. From there, the round becomes very easy because they still have a good bit of their utility, they have the man advantage, and they had time to set up their hold. Now some things to note on Haven is that Haven is the aim battle map. We see pros usually resort to a 2-2-1 split, so both teams of 2 can play aggressive and look for picks or trade-offs, because with 3 bomb site, the map gets extremely difficult to defend with fewer defenders. So even if you die and your team gets a kill on the attacking side, on Haven that's completely worth it because it's better for the attackers that can single out a site as opposed to the defenders who have to hold all 3. Now let's be honest, this wouldn't be an attacker's guide without talking a little bit about everyone's favorite strategy, the rush. Now rushes in Valorant look very different than they do in other major titles, and at the higher levels of play, they just don't really work. For you to pull off a rush in this game, you usually want to split the site if possible, but you want to push as fast as possible to the site without stopping. And with the different agents and different utilities available to us, it's almost impossible. Now when we do see rushes in Valorant, it still takes at least 30 seconds because baiting out utility is a must. The most important thing to take away from this round is that in the very beginning, everyone on Hiko's team is slow walking. Not making noise is one of the only ways to make a rush work because even though we see Ninja trip that cypher trap, the enemy doesn't know exactly how many people are here. This allows Hiko's team to bait out Cypher's utility. While still risky, it's in a much safer way than just rushing straight through it. In the end, this risky call worked out really well because Hiko's team on an eco round managed to trade evenly and get into a 2v2 scenario with the bomb planted. So a round that was heavily weighted against them in the beginning turned into a very good round for them in the end. And this is definitely a trend we're seeing in pro play. Teams are saving rushes for eco rounds, looking for quick trade kills into planting the spike for some extra credits and guns to protect that plant with. Now one other tip, if you're looking to execute a rush, you want to identify the bomb site or area of the map that has an enemy without much area denial playing there. For example, if you're playing split and the enemy team doesn't have a cypher, or their cypher decides not to play B and instead they have a Phoenix or a Raze or a Sova playing B, this makes B site very rushable since the enemy lacks the utility needed to hold it. Now if Cypher's playing B, it's very difficult to push it, but if a Sova's playing B, you don't have to worry too much about stopping because the only thing he can kill you is the shock dart, and that's very unreliable, and if you're pushing straight at him, it should be a free site take. So take advantage of where the enemies are playing that don't have hard area denial like we talked about earlier. Now all in all, the most important trend that we've seen throughout all of these rounds is just how important map control is. Because when you pressure the enemy team into wasting utility or making a mistake, attacker side becomes so much easier. Now with all this being said though, we hope we've helped you learn something about attacking in Valorant, and if so, let us know in the comments below. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching the video and spending this little bit of your day with us. We have a ton more comprehensive premium guides coming your way, so be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can keep improving and climbing to the top of that scoreboard. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching, and good luck in your games.